We looked at hundreds of species of common breeding birds across Europe and North America, and we used information about where they occur to understand what climates they need. And then we looked at recent climate records from 1980 to 2010 to see whether the climate has been getting more or less like what those species need. And we used that to create an expectation, really, of whether birds should have been advantaged or disadvantaged by recent climate change. And then we were able to contrast the fates of those that should have benefited from those that would not have benefited, and found that there's quite a striking divergence, with the ones that should have benefited really doing much better than those that we would have expected to decline.
So northern species have been declining as climate's been getting warmer in Europe. So the willow tit, which has a western range margin in the UK, has declined by about 80% in the UK and is declining around its range margins elsewhere in Europe. By contrast, a species like the Dartford warbler, which used to just occur around Dorset, has increased in population size about 8-fold since the 1980s. In the United States, the American robin has been declining in the south, but has been increasing in some states in the north. And species that perhaps we formerly considered Mediterranean species, like the bee-eater, have been increasing in numbers, expanding their ranges northwards, and we've even had examples of bee-eaters breeding in the UK in the last decade or so.
I think one of the most striking things here is that there are many things that affect populations, many things that force them to go up and down, both natural phenomena and things that humans are doing to them as well. And so it can be quite difficult to isolate the impacts of one driver of change. But our approach to this research allows us to do just that, and to really illustrate how big the impacts of recent climate change have been. And that's something that hasn't really been done before on this scale. So what we've created is an index which really illustrates the impact of recent climate change on, in this case, birds, but could equally be applied to other species groups, things like pollinators, so bees, butterflies and so on, and is accessible, very visually striking, and so useful for policymakers or members of the public to really see what those impacts have been.